Hey everybody, welcome to your full moon ritual. This is for the pink moon, which was full early this morning, and we have about another 24 hours of that kind of potency to play with. The full moon rituals are a great way to have a monthly reminder so that we can set time aside to acknowledge what's no longer working for us and what no longer serves us. This pink moon, I think, is really important for us to start thinking about accountability and forgiveness. So a lot of us are experiencing things, I think collectively the world is, on a micro and macro level that kind of just reflect what we carry around, or a lot of things that we carry around all the time. And it's time to kind of unpack that. And a big part of that is accountability. So acknowledging where we're at and how we got here and what role we play in our lives and in the world as a whole. And then forgiveness. So forgiving others and forgiving ourselves and letting go of all the things that are really weighing us down. Those things tend to weigh us down all the time. And now that light is just being shined on it and it's harder to look away from. So today and tonight is a really great time to acknowledge some of those things and then release them. So I always recommend some movement prior to doing any full moon ritual or kind of a journaling exercise or anything that you're going to kind of dive deep in, because a relaxed body helps to create a relaxed mind. So we're not going to do any actual movement here, but if you have the time today and tonight, I would recommend doing like a gentle class, a yin class, something like that. And I've included a link to a great local studio that's doing free online classes. They have a great YouTube channel right now, and I've included specific links to classes that might be good to use as kind of a precursor foundation for this full moon ritual. If you do not have time for that, or you are just exhausted, don't worry about it. If you only have about 10 minutes or so, I've also included a link to a clip that we put together for the collective. That's about 10 minutes of just general base foundational stretching. It's going to go over some very simple and foundational yoga poses. So if you are new to the practice, have never practiced, have a practice and just want something really simple and guided, check that out. And you have those options to use at any time, throughout the coming months as well. So if you are going to pause to do that, I would recommend doing that now. If you're not, or you just completed it, then we are going to kind of continue on. So what we are going to do to set the tone for this session is use our breath to kind of relax the body even further. So you're going to want to sit up straight in a chair wherever you are. I always like to have something behind me, like the back of a chair or a wall, so that I feel supported. You want your body to be comfortable so that it can start to relax. So go ahead and take a few seconds to get comfortable and feel supported so that you're not going to be distracted by any kind of like aches or discomforts in the body. And then once you're ready, we're going to take 4 clearing breaths, and the first one's going to be called a lion's breath. So what you're going to do is inhale as deeply as you can, starting in the belly and traveling all the way up to the neck, and then you're going to hold it for a second, and then you're going to release it through the mouth, and you're going to stick out your tongue and open your mouth and shake your head like a lion. So it's going to look like this. So go ahead and take one of those now. Inhale deeply as fully as you can. Fill up all the way, starting at your lower belly, all the way up through the lungs, chest, into the neck, and hold. And then release it, stick out the tongue, sigh out the mouth, and really shake it off. And then why don't you go ahead and do that one more time. So deep inhale. Just imagine all that stagnant energy and tension kind of coming out of your mouth when you're exhaling. And then we're going to take 3 more clearing breaths. It's a 3-part breath. So you're going to inhale for a count of 3, and then you're going to exhale for a count of 4, both through the nose. So it'll look like this. So the exhale is just a tad longer than that inhale. And we're going to do that 3 times. So inhale for a count of 3, filling all the way up. And exhale for a count of 4. And one last time. Just gonna shake out a little bit. You roll your shoulders a few times. back, tilt the head forward. Shake off any lasting tension you've had from your day. And then we're going to talk about, before we get into the actually journaling exercise, a little bit about accountability and forgiveness. So it's important in our lives, whether it's now or in general, moving forward or even applicable to the past, for us to move forward into a new state of being and to release the past, we have to take accountability and responsibility for our role in any dynamic. So a lot of times we'll look at two different scenarios. Things will happen out of the blue that are unexpected, that are not like our fault. We had no role in it. Something happened. It was sudden and perhaps tragic or unexpected. When that happens and we try to move forward from that, or we are moving forward, oftentimes we can bump up against resistance and anger and blame, and even hate, and just being really angry that this happened and wanting somebody or something to blame. When that happens, one of the universal truths that we're often hit with is that although what happened was not your fault, healing is your responsibility. And that is often a tough pill to swallow. I know for me, sometimes it's been tough. Knowing that you didn't want what happened, you didn't have a role in asking for it or participating in it, and yet taking care of it and the aftermath and those consequences is your responsibility. And that's where a lot of kind of our deeper self-care and inner work comes into play, so that we can really figure out what it is that we believe about the world. Do we believe that everything's happening for us, whether or not it seems good or bad, or it feels good or it feels bad in the moment? Do we believe that we, as spiritual beings, asked for these experiences, in these human bodies so that we could learn specific lessons from them? Do we believe that a higher power always has our back? When we feel frustrated and depleted and victims of our circumstances, so things that we couldn't control happened to us and we're really upset that they happened, and we don't know why, and we have trouble connecting with any sort of purpose or answer to that, it's a really good time to dive into that inner work. Because regardless of how long we fight the truth of it, the healing and moving past it is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to take care of ourselves that way, regardless of what happened, regardless who's to blame. And we can decide or choose to look away from it, or numb ourselves, or drown ourselves, or lash out, and we can stay in those cycles for years and years, and we can look back and say, well, it's no wonder I'm behaving this way. Like, I have a right to do that because blank, blank, blank happened to me. And the truth is, like, all of you, I firmly believe all of you have a very unique gift and are a very important part of the collective, of this oneness of the world. And the only way to connect with that purpose and that gift is to understand that regardless of what's happened in the past, it's our responsibility to heal. And that onus is on us to move past it and move past it in the best way that we can, so that we can connect with why we're here, what our purpose is. I think that we all have a purpose here, and we're all here to serve in some way. And we can't do that unless we walk through our own fires, unless we put down the habits that we picked up in order to make ourselves feel better. I know that a lot of times, or maybe all of the time, the things that we pick up, whether they're habits, tendencies, even addictions, are all there to help us regulate our nervous system. So we reach for things because we want to feel better. We want to feel calm. We want to take that edge off, whatever it is. And a lot of those habits sometimes end up not serving us. And so we end up like digging ourselves into an even bigger hole than we started with. And it's just about stopping and saying, all right, what do I believe about the world and what do I want to believe? And then really connecting with that. If you connect with the idea that you have a higher purpose and that you're here for a reason, then and you've been stuck or resistant to being able to figure out how to either know what that is or move forward with it, then the time is now. I would invite you now to look at the fires you haven't been willing to walk through. Look at the areas of your life that you have not fully healed from. And you'll know what a lot of those are when you are of clean mind, body, and spirit, so you're sober and grounded and feel safe. If you still have an emotional charge associated with any of those memories, it's likely that complete healing has not taken place. So if they inspire emotion, if you can go right back to that scene and that memory and recall things that were really impactful, and they still have an emotional charge. You still get angry, you still feel incredible sadness or pain or anxiety or fear. It's just an indication that those things have not been healed. And so I would say, as a collective world, now is the time for us to take accountability and heal those past wounds and heal those things so that we can move forward, all connected more and more deeply with our purpose, so that we're here to serve and give back. So part of what we're doing today is talking about that accountability and responsibility and getting it on paper, so that we can start to walk through those fires. So that was an example of things that happened kind of either out of the blue and that were tragic or unexpected. And then there's the other side of that, which are situations or dynamics that we find ourselves repeatedly stuck in or that are ongoing. And when it comes to those, we do have that choice because we've been there before, maybe even just the day before. And it's important to understand that if you are finding yourself repeatedly stuck in the same situation with the same person or circumstances or whatever it is, but you're repeatedly finding yourself in it, you are responsible for 50% of that dynamic. You're responsible for the maintaining of it. Even if you don't like it, even if you don't feel stuck and you want to point your finger and this is their fault, they make you feel this way, we are all 50% responsible for the dynamics that we find ourselves repeatedly stuck in, for the creation and the maintaining of them, period. 50%. And we might want to say, well, my behavior is just in response to theirs. They started it. It's a whole chicken and egg scenario. No, they could probably say the exact same thing, and then it could go on in a circular, non-logical cycle forever. But just try to swallow down and wrap your mind around you're 50% responsible for any dynamic that you find yourself repeatedly stuck in, period. Once you can look at it that way, then you can kind of start to take control back, because you've been asking for that situation for whatever reason. There's a lesson you still have to learn, but you are, no matter how angry you are at it or the other person or the circumstances, you're 50% responsible if you're continuing to participate, period. There's always a different choice to be made. Always. You might not like it, you might not like the options, but there's always a different choice to be made. So I think kind of understanding that is really important, because your point of power is in taking that responsibility. If you are not responsible for anything, or everything is everyone else's fault, or outside circumstances or things that have happened to you in the past, then you're adopting that victimhood role. And at that point, you're giving away your power. So it's not about saying don't be the victim, and being the victim is bad. All of us have been victims to circumstances at one time or another, especially for things that are outside of our control. Moving forward, though, it's important that we understand that we are equal participants in the maintaining of that memory, that dynamic, that belief, or the actual circumstance if it's still, alive and well. And we have to take responsibility, because that's the only point that we have control at. If we admit that we're half of it, then we have control in it, and at that point we can make a different choice. And so that's why it's really important to accept responsibility and accountability in things. It allows you to regain power and control the situation for yourself, and then make a new choice. If you continue to make the same choice, then you're just, continuing to pile on that responsibility. And then it goes into forgiveness from there. It's there's no beating ourselves up. We don't know what we didn't know. Once you understand it and you know what role you're playing, you can either continue it and say, all right, I'm going to keep continuing to do this. I see my role in it, and I'm just not ready to give it up. Or I'm ready to make a different choice, and I'm going to forgive myself for the things that I did in the past. And so that's what this journaling exercise today is really about. It's going to be about taking accountability, and we're going to be acknowledging how we actually feel. That's the first part. I'm acknowledging that I'm hurt, and that I'm angry, and that I'm sorry, whatever it is, and then moving past that into forgiveness of ourselves and other. And so it's about shifting. So this is kind of a turnaround journaling exercise that you can use at any time. And you're going to take a blank piece of paper. So if you have a journal, great. If not, any kind of paper will do. And you're going to draw a line down the middle of a page like this. And in the left-hand column, on the left side of the page, I want you to write down 3 prompts. So the first prompt is going to say, I'm hurt because ... And then I would give yourself a little bit of space underneath that. And then underneath that prompt, you're going to write, I'm angry because dot dot dot. And I'll show you guys an example too. And then underneath that, still in the left-hand column, you're gonna write, I'm sorry because dot dot dot. And those are all for the left-hand column. So you're gonna have, I'm hurt because, I'm angry because, and I'm sorry because. Something like this. I'm hurt, I'm angry, I'm sorry because, with dots. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you are going to write the prompt, I'm hopeful that, dot, dot, dot. Leave yourself a little bit of space. Write, I'm grateful that, dot, dot, dot. And those are just the two prompts for the right side. So this journaling exercise is going to start with you guys really understanding and acknowledging how you feel. So I want you to, or I invite you to draw to mind at least 3 to 4, you could do as many as you would like, honestly, circumstances that are current, circumstances from the past, worries about the future, anything, people, places, things. Anything that's been kind of a thorn in your side or that's been upsetting you lately or has been tripping you up. This could be anything really. I have a feeling people are gonna have plenty of content for this. So now that we're all kind of in the same boat and in kind of a lockdown and quarantine and like things are coming up, I know that they are. If you're having trouble connecting with something to write about, reach out to me and I can help walk you through it. But I'm thinking everybody probably has a pretty good idea of a situation or a person or an event that's current, that's happening now, that's alive and well, or that's from the past that's been coming up for you, that you're tripping up on, and apply it to this. And so you can redo your little square with all the prompts as many times as you need for separate circumstances. So at the top of the line, you can draw kind of a little asterisk and you can write down the topic or the trigger perhaps of what you're going to be focusing on for each separate little square writing. And so you're just gonna fill it in. You're gonna bring that situation to mind, that person, place, or thing, and you're gonna write all of the things that you feel hurt about. I'm hurt because, and just write them all out. I'm hurt because you did this. I'm hurt because this was said. I'm hurt because all of it. Get it out. And you might end up needing more room under some columns, and that's fine. This is just kind of a template so that you can keep replicating it. And then you're gonna do it again for I'm angry. Oftentimes, a lot of us become really resistant to feeling anger. I think especially women are afraid of their own anger, you know, and it's like, oh, I was mad. I don't want to be mad. Emotions all exist and they're all kind of equal and they're there for a reason. So, and by equal, I mean like if we're feeling them in our bodies, they're all equally valid. It's okay to be angry. Angry is an acceptable emotion. Give yourself permission to feel hurt. Give yourself permission to feel anger, and to acknowledge it. If it exists in your body, the quickest way to move through it is by acknowledging that it's there and that it's valid. So I invite you to connect with that. I think there's probably a lot of pent up or pushed down anger happening in the world right now. So write about that too. I'm angry because, let it out. And then you're going to move into I'm sorry because. And this is when we start to shift sort of our mentality from the anger and the pain into a little bit of that accountability. I'm sorry because, and this is where you can write down your wishes and your regrets. I'm sorry that I didn't say this. I'm sorry. Write down everything you can feel that you feel sorry for in regards to that situation. And then once you're done kind of letting all of that out, on the right side, we're gonna move into hope and gratitude. So our brains are incredible machines and they're capable of learning and growing and expanding in amazing ways. And so when we can even just plant a seed of looking at something a little bit differently, it expands our minds, and once expanded, they don't go back. So regardless of how hopeless or cemented or fixed a situation might seem to you, if we can plant the seed that things perhaps could be different, and every possibility exists in a quantum field, it just does. We have to get our brains to that place where they believe and understand that by planning that. So call the situation, same situation to mind, person, place, thing, whatever it is, and ask yourself, what am I hopeful for? If anything is possible, or if you're not even quite there yet, if anything were possible, what would I be hopeful that? If this situation could resolve itself or change itself, or I could look at it differently, what am I hopeful that? I'm hopeful that what? That this taught me like an incredible lesson. I'm hopeful that this rift could be healed. I'm hopeful that someday we could hug it out. I'm hopeful that whatever it is, write down anything that, like, wouldn't it be nice if this happens? I'm hopeful that, and really let yourself be hopeful, because we definitely have a part of ourselves, and typically it's our inner child, that lives in hope and that knows anything's possible. And think of yourself as a kid. Most of us had all these like crazy ideas, and they weren't crazy, they were just creative and interesting, and we lived in fields of possibilities. We thought anything was possible. And as adults, we kind of like, our mind sort of shuts off to that aspect, and it's so important to reconnect with it, because anything still is possible. And so reconnect with hope. Everybody needs hope right now. So reconnect with that childlike, expansive part of yourself and ask yourself, what if anything could happen in regards to this, what would I really hope for? And let that come up. Let the fear subside, know that you're safe, give yourself permission to kind of dream again and think, like, if this could be okay, what would that look like? I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful for what? And write it down and really connect with that. And then lastly, but certainly not least on the page, is I'm grateful that. And start to connect with gratitude in some aspect in regards to the situation, person, place, thing, whatever topic you're writing about. Find something to be grateful for in it, and really stay in that place that you can come up with at least a handful of things that you feel really grateful about. There's always something, if we're here for a reason and everything's happening for us and not to us, there's always something to be grateful for. Even if it's just that situation or topic brought you to doing this exercise and you're able to start healing yourself. Whatever it is, but really, really allow that part to sink into. And so this exercise as a whole is really about identifying with how we feel, giving ourselves permission to feel that way and letting it out and acknowledging it, starting to acknowledge our role in that, like what we're sorry for, what our regrets are and what we would have done differently, or just what we're sorry for in general about it, and then shifting it, so turning things around by introducing hope and introducing gratitude to it. And like I said, this is something you can do even daily, or when a trigger comes up and you're suddenly swept away by like a wave of emotion, it's like, okay, I'm gonna write it out, and I'm feeling anger right now, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling all these things. You can always use this to shift your way back into hope and gratitude, which is the energy in which we all, I think, would prefer to live. And the great part about it is the energy in which most of us would prefer to live, and we have that choice. If we can acknowledge that we're feeling something, we always have the ability to then shift it. But it has to be acknowledged first. Acknowledgement, release, shift. And this exercise can be a really good guide to helping you do that anytime that you might need it. So I would invite you to do that and take as much time as you need. Something else you can add in at the end of this to make it extra full moon-like. We often do burning ceremonies. So on a full moon, you can literally burn away what no longer serves you. So you can, that's why we have the line, cut the list in half. And you're gonna wanna hold on to the hopefulness and the gratitude side, so the right side of your list, and the left side, once you cut it, you can then burn it. So if you would like to burn that, I have included written prompts for that below. I do it safely, obviously. If you have a fire pit, that's great. You don't need one. You just need a bowl, an empty bowl, like a sturdy bowl, so something that's not gonna dissolve into flames, and then a bowl of water. Some matches or a lighter, and the bowl of water is really there for safety. You want to take the left side of the sheet, you can light it on fire. As it's burning, you can place it in the bowl and say, I let this go, and now it is so. And then kind of just stand there in the moment of holding on to that hopefulness and gratitude for just a minute or two, and then you can go ahead and do it with each preceding sheet. Some of you might only make it through or only need to do one of these. Others of us might have many situations or things in our lives that we want to apply this to right now. So that's up to you, how many times you'd like to go through it. And then it's up to you as well if you want to burn it at the end. But it's always nice to release, acknowledge, then let go. And the burning kind of puts a tangible aspect on that, which makes it kind of a fun ceremony. Great to do with friends too, so you can do it virtually, have a little burning ceremony virtually. And like I said, feel free to repeat this exercise at any full moon, or honestly any day of the week that's coming up for you that leaves you kind of feeling an emotion that you're not especially happy to be feeling. It can go a long way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Take your time with it. Like I said, if you want to do it tomorrow when you have more time, adding in, stretching or yoga practice beforehand can be super helpful too. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm here to help and support you. And then starting next week, I'm going to be running a virtual coffee talk, which is going to be, well, just how it sounds. The coffee talk, it's going to be recorded. It'll be on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And we're going to be talking about kind of hot topics for what's going on right now. We're going to be discussing self-care basics. And we'll always do a little self-care ritual in there as well. So there'll be a little bit of breath work, a little bit of meditation. We'll talk about a quote or a topic or reading passage of the day, and then we'll talk about how we're feeling and just have a place for people to ask questions and support each other. And that'll be Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And I know that a lot of people are still working and they're so fortunate to be able to do that. So it'll be recorded too. If you want to use it perhaps the next day before your work hours start. And we're also going to be doing a live and recorded version of nightly self-care rituals next week. So I know a lot of people are having a hard time sleeping, and so we're going to be breaking down step by step, easy and simple nightly self-care rituals that are going to help you get a much better sleep. So I hope you join us for those. There'll be Facebook events announcing them, and I'll be on social media talking about it. But Tuesday at 10 a.m. coffee talk. Join us either live or through the recording, and then I think it'll be possibly next Thursday, but I'll announce that for the nightly self-care rituals as well. And let us know what you want to hear about. So we're here to kind of create this content and give you guys support. So what do you want more of? Guided meditations, breath work, interviews with people. What topics do you want to know more about? Let us know. Let us know how you like this full moon ritual as well. I'm wishing you all an amazing and happy, what day is it? Wednesday.